Hello, Mackie here, and welcome everybody to the Premier League review. I have to start with the Liverpool Newcastle game. I have no other choice but to start with this game. This was the Martin Scorosi's absolute cinema of a matchup. This is going to go down as one of my favorite matchups, nay, my favorite rivalries in the modern Premier League era. And to say that is pretty much the understatement. How do we even get to here? How do you even get to here? Well, we have to break this whole thing down. Because if you look at the statistics and everything that is going on, you can say that Newcastle pretty much dominated that game. And I will get to my aftermath, of course, with all of this. But you're Liverpool. You pretty much pull off the biggest heist since you did it against PSG in the Champions League. Like, let's be brutally honest. Because let's be brutally honest. I don't think if any Liverpool fan watched this game must be feeling to yourselves, we did not play great. Like, brutal honest to God, Newcastle made Liverpool look absolutely poor throughout the entirety of the 100 plus minutes. And in the early part of the game, they were pretty dominant, of course, from like the early minute on around the first 30-minute mark. They had their set pieces, they had some incredible chances, they were making them, kind of sweat. Salazar had to go like absolute alert mode in most of the cases, so did Virgil van Dijk. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, Newcastle going to score, right? Newcastle are definitely going to score the next goal, the first goal of the game. Except, whoops, 35th minute, Ryan Gravenberch with an absolute screamer of a shot, kind of deflected, of course, along the way, stoned the goalkeeper and put Liverpool 1-0 up. And my goodness, after all the domination of Newcastle at the beginning of the game, boom, here comes that sucker punch right there in the 35th minute. And you're thinking to yourself, Akeem, okay, it cannot get any worse if you're Newcastle. You're down 1-0, you played great, maybe you could go back to the halftime and pretty much like regroup, reassess yourselves, and Anthony Gordon get red carded. Yeah. He kind of put his studs on Virgil van Dijk. It was horrible. You see the scars. And he did not get much of the ball. He did not get much of the ball. And unfortunately, sent off, pretty much the right decision by, the referee, who was having a pretty wild game in himself. Not much controversy, not much chaos in the horse. It was a pretty wild game, to be honest. And not much like huge talk about and controversy. So at least you got that going. So, you're Newcastle, you're down 1-0, you're down 10 men. What is the absolute worst thing to ever happen in the second half? How about another Hugo Etiquette's goal in 25 seconds? Yeah, 25 seconds in the second half. Hugo Etiquette scored, and Liverpool are up 2-0 at Newcastle with the entire St. James's Park that was so vocal with everything, and I mean every single thing that has gone on with Newcastle since the whole Alexander Isak situation. Whether he's going to be a Liverpool or Newcastle, we will find out in next week. But consider everything that Liverpool have gone through. Everybody in Newcastle must be thinking to yourself, well, that's it. GG's. There is no way we can come back from now. Down 10 man against this pretty good Liverpool team. We're cooked. We're pretty much cooked. And then, I think this has been a problem for Liverpool throughout the entire season so far. If the Crystal Palace game is a coincidence or luck, and the Bournemouth game is a trend, we are now officially reached pattern territories of Liverpool's defense being a liability that's going to hurt them in the long run. Now, I said long run because this is only just 2 matches in the Premier League season, but it almost had that feeling of like you're up 2-0 in both games. And Liverpool's defense kind of like capitulated in most cases. But you have to give credit to Newcastle. You have to give credit to Newcastle and the way they have fought back. You don't know it when they were down to 10 men. You don't know it when they're down to 10 men. The absolute cojones for Newcastle to get back off the map and actually score 2 goals. It's amazing. First off, Bruno Guimaraes on the set piece. A long throw in, a lot of bodies, and then Guimaraes had the audacity to bodied the defender, of course, to make that header to put it 2-1. And then all of a sudden, momentum swings. Momentum is really, really in favor of Newcastle. And then it peters out, Liverpool has some possession, and then, whoops, William Osola in the 80th minute on a corner kick. And unfortunately, a free kick, mind you, a Pope free kick, and then a couple of headers in there, and then also look at Alisson's eyes, and then put it down low down low the goalkeeper, and all of a sudden, once again, just like last week Friday, it is officially 2-2, and once again, all the momentum is going on the other team. Newcastle with all the backs with all the momentum and all the fandom right behind them. I was thinking to myself, yeah, Newcastle's going to win this game. Newcastle's going to win this game completely. The way that this team has been getting up for this entire game, the way this matchup has been set, and the way this entire last couple of minutes have gone through, there is going to be actually one answer. Newcastle's going to probably win this game. It'll be the most unlikeliest winner pretty much ever. It's going to be the most unlikeliest win in probably Newcastle's last couple of years. Guess what happens last week, guys? Last week, it was Federico Chiesa, a guy who has only played 7 matches prior to this point, scored the winner. Today, on this Monday, another unknown has surprised everybody and won the game against Liverpool. Ladies and gentlemen, meet soon-to-be 17-year-old Rio Ngoma. Rio Ngoma. My goodness, you don't know about this kid. Anybody who don't know about this kid, before he was substituted, around, let's call it the 95th minute, of course. You're 16 years old. You're in St. James's Park. The atmosphere is electric. You're in a big Premier League game, and the absolute calmness. And the fact that this is probably Liverpool's best passage of play, with all the passing, the going through, and a little pass, of course, down the middle. I think who made the assist? It was Mo Salah. Why not? Mo Salah with a ball down the field. Szoboszlai decided to fake the dummy. And for Rio Ngoma to have the absolute nerves of steel, like you're talking about ice cold vein, Bill Rafferty onions, absolute onions, to curl that ball past a stoned wall Pope and win the game in the 100th. Yes, the 100th minute. My God Almighty. What a moment for this kid. He is the youngest ever player in Liverpool history to score a goal right ahead of Michael Owen by a couple of days. He's the second ever teenager since Wayne Rooney scored that winner against Arsenal back in 2004. Yes, that Wayne Rooney with Everton, of course. Unbelievable. Unbelievable game. It was probably the game of the week in my opinion. And listen, it's not. You may have your North London derbies. You may have your Merseyside derbies. You can have your little bit of London derbies here or there. You got your M23 derbies. But I will say this right now. Newcastle Liverpool has delivered. Newcastle and Liverpool have delivered in spades. And my God, I feel like this is like the 3rd greatest thing to ever happen to Liverpool over Newcastle. You got the Stan Collymore winner. You got the Darwin Nunez winner. Yes, Darwin Nunez. And then you got this one by Ngoma. Of all people to win that game. Like, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. For this game to happen and for this incredible moment. For this kid to do that at St. James's Park and to win that game is amazing. He will never have another great moment like this ever in his life. I hope he'll go on to have greater things. But if Liverpool were to go on to do greater things this season, we may never forget this guy. I know it's early in the season. It might get forgotten in the weeds, of course. But if Liverpool were to go on to win the title with some barely couple of margins in points and all these standards, this guy could be the difference. Hopefully, he might do well in the next couple of months and years as he develops, of course. But I will tell you what, this guy will never buy a single dinner in Merseyside ever again for the rest of his life. This guy was amazing. He was amazing. And what a way to end probably the best game of the season so far. I think this is our listen, we're already in the second week of Premier League, and this is probably by far the best game of the Premier League season. And we got so much games to go, so much chaos left. Okay, let's talk about Liverpool before we get to Newcastle. I am concerned about Liverpool and their defense. I think we have now established 2 games, and Liverpool have not played their A+ game, and they've already now have 6 points, tied with the 2 North London clubs in Arsenal and Tottenham. If you are Liverpool, you're happy. You're happy to get 6 points. You're happy that you're doing well, but you're kind of concerned because we saw what Arsenal did to Leeds, and oh, by the way, you're gonna face Arsenal next week. Yeah, that's another big game. So much history between those 2 teams. I can think of '89 Anfield in my mind. You're worried about Liverpool and their defense. You are worried about this team not taking care of set pieces, especially when they mentioned about it in preseason. You're worried about, Konate and Van Dijk, although Van Dijk played a pretty okay-ish game. Not his fault, of course. You're worried about this team. And as I said, in the short term, it's not going to affect them. But in a long term, when the season is getting long and all of these patterns are going to be made, it's going to come back and bit them in the rear. It's going to come back and bit them in the rear so hard that you have to feel like, are you that surprised? Are you that surprised? Consider how earlier in the season you conceded so many goals? No. No, you don't. So I think this is something they need to sort out. And I think they got a week until the transfer window to try to buy someone to try to shore up their defense. Because if you have performances like this, and credit to Bournemouth and credit to Newcastle to come out and absolutely balled out and play decently well with no fear against a pretty good opposition and manage to do something about it. I mean, they didn't win, but at least they have performances to make you feel like, oh, these teams are really frightful. These teams can really challenge some elite teams. You got to give credit to them. But if you're Liverpool, you must be feeling yourself, you're up 2-0. You're up 2-0, same thing with Bournemouth, and you feel like you're winning the game, and then there's like, mentally, defensively, you're collapsed. And listen, you can get away with it when you're facing Bournemouth and Newcastle. Fine. Although Newcastle, you say, is a pretty good team right now. What if you're facing Arsenal, or City, or Chelsea, or Tottenham, for God's sakes? You might cost them some points against these teams, especially consider how congested the title race could be. So right now, I think the attack, Hugo Ekitike, is pretty good. 2 games, 2 goals. In fact, 3 games, 3 goals. He has been pretty good as advertised. I think the team, attacking-wise, is good. The team, attacking-wise, is good enough to beat everybody. But their defense is going to cost them so many games and so many titles being lost in the long run, of course. But for now, let us enjoy another epic Newcastle-Liverpool match. Just drink it all in, man. It is, Rio Nugumia. Oh my God. Wow. That is insane. Okay, so we got other games. Not as thrilling as this one. This one, but we got other games. West Ham versus Chelsea. Oh boy, yeah. That Friday night game was an absolute massacre. It was an absolute massacre. Chelsea just absolutely destroyed them. Paquete, who by the way came out from like the FA Cup scandal with all the gambling probe and all kind of stuff, scored an absolute worldly, of course, against Chelsea. 6 minutes, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, West Ham, bounce back after a loss to Sunderland, and then oh my Jesus Christ, yep, João Pedro, 15 minutes, Neto, 23rd minute, Fernandez, 34th, Caicedo, and Chabala, 54th and 58th. Game over around that time. And yeah, they dominate that game pretty much. I think I have to say, Estavo's my MVP, though it is assist from Enzo Fernandez. The speed that he has for the Enzo Fernandez goal is amazing. And João Pedro, the MVP, 2 assists on goal. Pretty all-around stuff. And by the way, they all did this without Cole Palmer, who was scratched literally scratched before kickoff. So the fact that you managed to do that without your best player, that is amazing. That is amazing for Chelsea. And the fact you did, and the fact to come back from an absolute dread performance against Crystal Palace. And yes, let's be honest, that was dreadful by Chelsea standards. To come back from that and actually go to, albeit a not so great West Ham team at the London Stadium and absolutely pounded them, like pounded them after getting sucker punched in the first 6 minutes. It's amazing. I think this Chelsea team is going to be really much in the hunt, along with Liverpool and Manchester City and all that stuff. Oh boy. West Ham, West Ham, West Ham. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I have a little bit of a list. Ignore this entire stuff. This will be for tomorrow's stuff. I have a little list. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the you fear for them teams. Now, in case you haven't noticed, a shout out to Caught Offside, one of my favorite podcasts in terms of soccer, and they have a little bit of a statement saying that there's a little bit in an interview a couple of years ago about some of them is like you fear for these teams, you fear for them, you don't know if they're doing well and all kind of stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, West Ham are going to join us with Wolves and Man United, and I have some choice words for Man United. I will save them for later, but I have some choice words for Man United. I'll save that for the end of the whole thing. But right now, West Ham are in dire straits. They have now conceded 8 goals and only scored once, and that was a 6-minute goal by Nketiah. That is it. West Ham right now are absolutely cooked. They sold Mohamed Kudus. I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but Kudus is in greener pastures right now with Tottenham. Very greener pastures right now. And right now, if you look at this West Ham squad, I mean, I just don't know where the quality comes from. Bowen, Fulkrug, Ward-Prowse. Like, I just don't have any clue who's going to carry the medal with this team. And if you're Graham Potter, 2 horrific losses, of course, in 2 weeks, it's a cause of concern. And they are just like, oh, wait, we're not panicking, of course. I mean, you're not panicking after 2 games, but 2 embarrassing losses, of course. I'm sorry, man. That's just, I just have no good faith right now with West Ham right now. They're in trouble. They're in absolute deep fried trouble. You're fear for them. You are fear for this team right now. You are absolutely fear for this team. Right. Let's go with the shocker of the week. And I'm going to get some water and turn on the lights, and I'll come back with pretty much the absolute statement phrase of the entire weekend. So Thomas Frank beat Pep Guardiola in a football match. I never thought that sentence should be said in the year of our World 2025. But here we are. Tottenham Hotspur came to the Etihad Stadium and beat Manchester City. A Manchester City team that absolutely destroyed Wolves last week. I mean, whew, Jesus Christ. That is a statement. I mean, it's early. I get it. It's early 2 games. But I'll tell you right now. I'm going to tell you right now. Thomas Frank is doing way better than Ange Postecoglou have done in all last season. Clip that if you may. Clip that if you may, if you're a Tottenham fan. Manchester City did not do well in this game. Let's be honest. I mean, they got the possession, they got the better XG and all kinds of stuff, but it almost had that feeling of like City did not do a great performance. Look at the player performances. It's just orange. Like, not so great. Like Reiners, who played great last week, did not show up. Did not show up. Adnori got injured. That's a big blow, of course. And Alon. Oh, dear Alon. Disappeared in another big game, of course, as usual. Yeah, it is. It is a classic. But Tottenham, man. Tottenham, credit to Tottenham. They were phenomenal. Brendan Johnson with a goal, of course. And then João Paulinho, but an absolute hauler of a goalkeeping mistake by Trafford. Yes, a hauler, a horrible, horrible mistake by Trafford, by the way. Which makes the Genie Donnarumma rumors pretty much like rev it up to 1 million right now. And Tottenham kind of comes in play a structured game, something that Ange Postecoglou have never done, of course. And it makes the structure, the togetherness, the compactness, but also the clinicalness of Tottenham showed up in this game. I mean, my Uncle Michael is really happy right now with this performance. He's pretty much happy for the two performances. Yeah, yes, Burnley is a different class, of course, with Manchester City. But to score 5 goals and not even conceded so far, and to do that against Manchester City, by the way, at the Etihad Stadium, when many people have like, okay, Manchester City might win. It'll be a close game, of course. Not even close. Not even close. Are Tottenham for real right now? No. Too early, man. Too early that game. Too early to make that call. Way too early to make that call. But my goodness, if you're a Tottenham supporter, after everything they've gone through with the hiring of Thomas Frank, although you can say that Thomas Frank is a better hire than most cases, of course, many concern about like, oh, is this guy good enough to challenge the Premier League? Although he has shown with Brentford that he can challenge with the elite of Premier League and actually won games against them. So no question about that. But can he do it with a really top club with all the money, all the status, and all everything? So far in 2 games, he has shown me that in spades. Tougher challenges to come, guys. Tougher challenges to come. To go out there and beat Pep Guardiola, goodness gracious, that is a statement. That is a statement and a half. And unfortunately, I have nothing to say about Manchester City. They were absolutely poor. Poor as a church mouse. To go from Wolverhampton demolition to that, that inconsistency is going to be like not so great in the long run for the Premier League title. Consider how, again, it's a close title race we might have. And City are supposed to be like one of those teams to go through. And if you have performances like this against Spurs, then I have no faith in Manchester City probably to win. Again, early in the season, crazy things will happen down the end of the world, but Tottenham come here and beat Manchester City. Thomas Frank beat Manchester City at the end. My goodness. That is all you people who said that Thomas Frank cannot coach Tottenham, you better have some good explanation for that. You better have a good explanation for this. Okay, other results. Bournemouth versus Wolves. Nothing too much to say, although Thomas Gomes' red card, of course, that hurts. Tavernier got a goal. Only goal of the game in the 4th minute. Bournemouth with a much-deserved win after what happened last week when they should have done something against Liverpool. I mean, they should have got like a point against Liverpool until they didn't. And for Wolves right now, they're another one of those you fear for them teams. Although you can say right now that West Ham and Man United are kind of like occupying that position more than Wolves. This is almost like you're not wholly concerned about Wolves, consider how good graces they have last season. But you're kind of in that situation of like all 3 promoted teams have won. And yes, I kind of spoiled one of them, of course. All 3 promoted teams have won. And if all the promoted teams are going to do better than what happened last 2 seasons, which other teams can occupy the drop zone for them? And Wolves and West Ham are going to be like one of those teams. So right now you're fearing for them. You are absolutely fear for this team. And yes, I kind of spoiled the Burnley won the game, of course, because Burnley won a football game, by the way. Colin and Anthony with the 2 goals. Tighten up that Sunderland offense, of course, that scored 3 against West Ham. And yeah, despite the floodlights being absolutely faltered, doesn't matter. Burnley won, and I think they're undefeated, and I think they have not lost at home in a much while. Of course, extended to the championship, of course. Of course, different kettle of fish, different kind of oppositions. And by the way, Sunderland was a championship team, but that's not here or there. That was a pretty good performance by Burnley, all consider, despite not having too much possession, and the XG is not as strong, of course. But a huge win. I mean, they couldn't have 3 goals, have allowed Foster's VAR check would have been ruled out, of course. But all to say that Burnley deserved that win. And Brentford deserved that win as well. All Tatara with a goal, of course. with a huge, huge win to give Keith Andrews his first win. You talk about another manager, another team that is in the you fear for them mode, in which that new team, new manager, all the optimism kind of go out the window. And against a quality team like Aston Villa, mind you, a quality team like Aston Villa, that's a huge win. That's a huge, huge win for Keith Andrews to get your first win, and not the most unlikely a goal scorer, but pretty much like the most likely win you need. And consider they got absolutely bombarded in the possession. XG was kind of close. And the only goal of the game came from an assist by Mikel Damsgaard. Hey, Damsgaard, baby, in my fantasy team. Let's go, baby. Let's go. So, otherwise, Brentford with a huge win kicks off the revolution, and hopefully, we won't see them on the you fear for them list. They might be like a mid-table team, probably at the end of it. But consider the transition from like a great manager in Thomas Frank to like an unproven coach. If they manage to finish mid-table, that's easily a win. That's easily a win in my eyes for Brentford fans across. So much. And now we get to Arsenal Leeds. Now, the game was pretty much Arsenal Leeds was not even a contest. Victor Gyökeres scored 2 goals. He was impressive. Timber with 2 heading goals, of course, from Arsenal corners. Arsenal and scoring from corners, named my iconic duo. So, yeah, you're thinking to yourself, okay, that's the good news, Akeem. Yeah. Oh, no. No. Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka got injured. In fact, Bukayo Saka scored one of the goals. So, all that goodwill for Arsenal that game against Leeds, and you brought in Ebrika Eze from Crystal Palace. All that goodwill for Arsenal in that entire game got absolutely soured by those 2 injuries. And 2 of your biggest players, by the way. All of those good feelings kind of died with it. Now, the two things that hurt Arsenal in those last couple of seasons are a striker, which they got it. So, no excuses, of course, again. But also depth. And I think depth is going to be tested for Arsenal this season. Consider that these 2 guys are the main pillars of Arsenal's attack and main pillars of Arsenal's team throughout the entire season. We all saw what Arsenal have gone through without these 2 players. They were nowhere, quality-wise, in terms of attacking prowess, in terms of all these things. They were nowhere. And you wonder that if all these new additions are going to help Arsenal, not only like moving along, get along with all these things, not only with Premier League duties, but with EFL Cups, with the FA Cup, with Champions League. I don't know how long these injuries will be, but let's just say devil's advocate, could be long-term injuries, of course. Will these other players pick up the slack and help them along? Because, as I said, congested top 4 in the title race, there are going to be no room for error right now if you're Arsenal. And injuries like these are going to have a massive impact on you guys. So while it was a feel-good win for Arsenal, it felt like a downer, an absolute downer, with the injuries to both Odegaard and Saka. I wish them the best. But if you're Arsenal right now, you have to feel like, oh my God, here we go again. Nothing much to say about Leeds. They got absolutely beat. So, again, nothing much to say. Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest. Oh my goodness gracious. This one was hostile. And I mean hostile from the very jump. Now, let me just give you the long story short. Crystal Palace won the FA Cup against Manchester City. Well earned. First time in 120 years that a team like Crystal Palace have won a major trophy. Well deserved, all kind of stuff. Crystal Palace fans are supposed to celebrate that trophy like it's a big deal. They're going to play in the Europa League and all kind of jazz. However, turns out that John Textor is an absolute piece of crap. And his multi-club ownership not only hurt Crystal Palace's chances of Europa League, but also they kind of screwed Lyon, because back then, a couple of months ago, Lyon were relegated from League 2. Yes! Olympic Lyonnais relegated from League Two in like a week ago. That is madness. Unfortunately for Crystal Palace, their situation kind of like messed up. They missed the deadline and all kind of jazz. And unfortunately for them, they have to play Europa Conference League, which, by the way, they got their first win courtesy of a Jean-Philippe Matete goal, of course. The second leg is coming up this week. And, of course, the reason why Nottingham Forest is involved is because their chairman becoming a big, how do I say this? It's never a good sign when the chairman is even bigger than the club themselves. And Nuno Espirito Santo have done tremendous work to make Nottingham Forest a decent team. I mean, they earned their spot in Europe, although you can say that it's not the Europe they deserve, considering everything they've gone through. I think if you're Nottingham Forest, you must be thinking to yourself, Europa League? Seriously? Crystal Palace won the FA Cup. They deserve to be in the Europa League, not us. What do we do to do all these kind of stuff? And you have the chairman being an absolute, goofball of himself. If you're Santos right now, if you're Nuno Santo, and you've done all the goodwill of Nottingham Forest, you're asking yourself, am I going to stay one more season with this clown show on top of the chair bust every single week? Now, you got European football, of course, to deal with, of course. You got the Premier League and all got jazz. So you know what? Nobody will complain about it. But if I was Santos and this situation is continuing, man, I will get the hell out of here as best you can to probably save your mental. Because if this situation is going to continue for this Nottingham Forest team, you're not gonna last like a couple of months. So the game itself, it doesn't matter that much. Yeah, the game is nothing too much to write home about. Sarr with the first goal, and then Hudson and Dory with the equalizer, and the game petered out to a 1-1 draw. So this game means, other than like the background, of course, with the whole Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace kind of fightish, of course, with the whole Crystal Palace in the Europa League or Conference League kind of situation. And that was like the background to everything that's going on. I think, the game ended the draw. So you know what? It's kind of like shake hands and we move on with our lives. But with the whole Nuno Espirito Santos future and the whole chairman being involved as a puppeteer, of course, with the club, it feels like right now, is it me or it just feels like almost every single owner of some clubs are kind of like make their teams worse than it is? Because right now, the Glazers are making my team look worse. John Textor just leave Crystal Palace in a heap of absolute disgustingness. And I feel like Crystal Palace fans deserve some justice after everything they've gone through. But you know what? Gotta wash your hands, dust yourself off, and just move on for your lives. It is what it is. Football is unfair, but so does life, I guess. And Nottingham Forest, with this whole chairman, of course, is really making Nuno Espirito Santo look like feel like he needs to get out of here quick. I mean, like, listen. I know the Premier League may not hear me about this, but I oppose a 50-1 rule. I oppose the German Bundesliga situation of 50+1 rule, in which ownership is which no person gets 49% of the shares. So no egregious ownership, no state ownership gets to do all these kind of stuff. Can I have the Bundesliga model? Can we please have a 50+1 model in the Bundesliga so that all the crappy owners should get away and that us, the fans, get to own the club, of course? Can we get to the Green Bay model, of course? What? You can't? We can't? All right, then. We're all screwed anyways. Everton versus Brighton. First game at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and what a way to christen that stadium, ladies and gentlemen. Nadia and Gardner, 2 goals, of course. Fantastic win. Fantastic win against a not-so-great Brighton team, of course. And, yeah, Brighton dominated the game, but it doesn't matter, of course. When Moyes ball is playing, it doesn't matter if you got all the possession and all that pretty good statistics. You're pretty much not going to win the game when you conceded 2 goals in the space of 52 minutes. And also, guess who get 2 assists? It's our boy Jack Grealish. Oh my God, I am so happy for this kid. I am so happy for this kid. On to greener pastures and balling out in his very first home game. He's on the road to redemption, ladies and gentlemen. He is literally on the road to redemption to get that England squad. And games like these are going to help him in the long run, of course. So that's important to get off the great start. 2 assists, of course, not goals, but most importantly, really good performance by him. Also, Danny Welbeck missed a penalty. Like, come on, that Welbeck. You're better than this. You're way better than this, man. So, nothing too much to say about Everton. Great win. Way to christen your home stadium with a huge win, of course. And you know what? If you're an Everton fan, I think you're pretty good right now. Let's not talk about the Leeds laws, of course, last week. Let's not talk about that. WTF was that? I, I, I just, oh, you fear for them. You are fear for this team. You are fearing for Man United. Let me just get this out of the way, ladies and gentlemen. Ah, statistically, Fulham dominated the game. Statistically, Fulham dominated the game. And Bruno Fernandes, listen. Let me just say something about Bruno Fernandes. I'm gonna look at the camera right now and say something to Bruno Fernandes. Okay, Bruno Fernandes, Bruno. I know you're gonna get a lot of hate by all the social media accounts, and I know your family's gonna get a lot of death threats. But let me just tell you from the heart of hearts. Listen, what you have done last season in dragging Man United into the absolute mire of a situation, and to even carry ourselves to a Europa League final. Like, let's be honest. You're the reason why Man United You're the reason why Man United were in 15th place. Well, and I'm not saying in a bad reason, but you're probably the reason why Man United are not even a relegation zone. And that is probably a O of thanks to you and everybody, and to you and your hard work and commitment to do everything you can. And that's the good thing I'll tell you about you. That's the good thing I'll tell you about you. The bad I'll tell you about you is that you are like a house of cards, or you are like a paper tiger in most cases. When things go absolutely detrimentally wrong, even for once, you fall like a deck of chairs. You fall like you become squeamish. You become a crybaby and all kinds of stunts, and it almost feels like, why do we have you as captain, for God's sakes? We could have just sold you off to Saudi Arabia, and no one, and I mean no goddamn one, will bat an eye for it. Like, I understand you wanted to commit to Man United, and that's fine, but we're 16th, for God's sakes. 16th. The 3 promoted teams have all won in the first 2 weeks. In fact, let me just tell you something. Oh, everybody was thinking, oh, look at that. You thought to yourself, oh, maybe Leona will score the goal, of course. No, it turns out to be your own goal. So, let's just give you a count right now. Man United's own players have not scored a single goal in 2 games. Their own players have not scored a goal this season. But Akeem is only 2 games. Don't care! Don't care! You have bought all this money to bring in Cunha, to bring in Mount, to bring in Wembo for Jack Nunn. And you bring in Benjamin Sesko. But again, too early to call and attack other people. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, of course. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to talk about Ruben Amorim. 28 points from 29 games. Let's just put it in context. Those 28 points will get you close to the worst 3 teams from last season in the relegation zone. You are now officially in the worst. You are now worse than all 3 of the bottom teams last season combined. And now you're literally on borrowed time right now. You got 2 games, of course, before the international break. Grimsby Town in the EFL Cup. But Akeem is just the EFL. I don't care! Don't care. And you got Burnley before the international break. And oh, by the way, you got the Manchester Derby coming up after the international break. Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. You wanted the players on your system. You got the players, man. You wanted to play the 3-5-2 system. You got the 3-5-2 system. You wanted to play that system. You want to play the system, and now you're realizing, wait, what's wrong? It turns out like, wait, hold up. Maybe it turns out that the system you put in doesn't work. And now you have now become the Manchester United version of Ant Postecoglou. You know, that feeling of like, it is my system. I will stick with my system, my beliefs, my crap until the end of time. Come hell or high water. Well, we all know how many Man United managers does that, and we all know how that ended. We all know how this thing ended. You being sacked, and we have to do this entire cycle all over again to the detrimental of so many fans. And right now, I cannot believe I'm going to say these words, and I know it's going to hurt Man United fans, including me. But right now, I'm going to say this. If Man United get relegated from the Premier League, it will not be a shocker to no one. If Man United gets relegated to the Premier League, I will only shed tears of joy. Because this is now 12 years, and it's not just last season. This is now 12 years of misery and misfortune coming home to roost. And we were supposed to start this season pretty good. You know, the Arsenal game, we lost. We lost, but we did great. We did good. We did absolutely good. We got some positive moments, of course. This is the team you're supposed to beat. Like, I get it's Fulham. I get this is Fulham. I get, Fulham is a good team. Fulham are a good, decent team. We get it. Newcastle, Brighton, all these good teams are pretty good. But you're freaking Man United, damn it. You got money. You got all the prestige and everything you go through. You're supposed to smash this team. And even if you don't smash this team, at least be like Liverpool and play like C+ performance and win. Like, we don't give a damn about C+ performances anymore. We care about the wins! Give me the damn wins! And unfortunately, you don't have any. You just don't have any. You just don't have any anymore. You don't have the wins, nor the time on your side. Guess what, brother? The time is almost up for you, man. And if you don't put out some performances in the next couple of weeks, all hell breaks loose. Media is going to scrutinize you. The social media is going to scrutinize you. All the pundits, your Gary Linekers, your Gary Nevilles, all the people are going to scrutinize you from top to bottom. And guess what? I don't care. Any goodwill that's going to happen from Man United at the earlier season when you brought on new news players and all kinds of stuff is going to wear out completely. It's going to wear out completely. And listen, here's the kicker. I know this is hurt for me because I'm a Man United fan, but I am old enough to look at these situations and realize you are not going to you are not sugarcoating this thing to me, okay? You are not going to sugarcoat this thing with this half-ass thing of like, oh, maybe we will be patient. Maybe we'll take some time. You've been there for like a year, for damn sakes! You've been there for a year! What the fuck have you done? What in the God green earth has you done? For me lately? For us? For them? For everyone? What the hell have you done? And now we have to go to Burnley and have to beat this Burnley team. Which, by the way, they've won the game. If we lose to Burnley, if we lose to Grimsby Town and Burnley, then I'm done. I'm done being a Man United fan. I am going to be done being a Man United fan. I don't care what will happen for the rest of the season. I'll be done being a Man United fan. Have to be a fan of, like, Morecambe, of course, who, by the way, just won their first game after being absolutely screwed over by the ownership with their monetary situation. So congratulations, Morecambe. You actually get your feet back up. But for this team, nah. Don't sell me with those promises and those stuff. That is for politicians to do those stuff. You're Man United. You are the gold standard of Premier League football. You are the gold standard for European and English football. And this is the performance you get? I don't give a damn it's a 1-1 draw. This is terrible. Freaking terrible. And now everybody's going to laugh at me. And now it's like, cry me a freaking river, damn it. Oh, my goodness. I just can't take it, man. It almost feels like every single season you're just thinking to yourself, Akeem, can it get any worse from this? Can it get any worse from what happened last season? Well, no. Oh, no, 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 no. The only way it's gonna get worse is when Man United are gonna be in the relegation zone and fearing for relegation, ladies and gentlemen. That's gonna be worse. And I'm gonna tell you one little thing, and it will be aged so well or aged so badly. But if Man United will be relegated, it will be clean house. Clean house. And not just the manager getting clean house. Oh, no, 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 no. We're not talking about managers and all those staff. In fact, by the way, all the staffs are going to get absolutely severance package. Thank you very much, Jim Radcliffe. The entire Glazers and Jim Radcliffe have to be excommunicado immediately. If Man United were to get relegated from the Premier League, they should all leave. Every single one of us should leave, and we would rather have, the blood money than nothing. But Akeem, you hate the blood money. Better than this! Better than this! So yeah, I fear for them. I am fearing for them, and every single Man United fan should fear for them from not only this game, for the rest of the season. I am sorry that I have to end this on a really downer note, but my heart bleeds Man United ever since from a couple of years ago. And to see this team be like that, it hurts my soul so much. So anyway, thank you for listening, subscribing, and all that kind of stuff. Enjoy the rest of the week, and God bless you all.